Hello and welcome. This will be a spreadsheet update, but before we do that, let's go over an altcoin that I've been trading, and that is Circuits of Value, COVAL, on the 4-hour time frame. I entered into the position at about 122 on the early parts of February, a month ago. It was obviously in a downtrend, so I thought, you know what, let's enter in. This is something that was at 300 and down to 122. I had a sell order hit at around 168. Didn't get the top, well, so be it. But I still got a small profit and only sold a little bit of it. Had I sold all of it, it would have worked out much better. Sometimes you get unlucky. This low on this day, you can see 116 on the top, L. You can rip, my buy order was 115. How do you do? Well, missed out on the sell here. Yeah, I did. Oh well, so be it. And then it came down to 115 here. So that sell order, or buy order rather, which didn't execute here, came in, but immediately shot back up. So I'm thinking, might as well sell it immediately, which I did. And since then, the market's been grinding lower. And we stand right now at price action and at 114. Currently, I am up on this trade over 10%. Anyone who would have started here and just huddled this entire bit would be down about 7%. And that's because my average buy right now is 102. Simply by just a small few trades here and there. Let's now move on to the spreadsheet and just talk about different mechanisms for how one would make something like this. What I like about this, it allows me to trade any currency against whichever ones that I want and be able to get the data that I need, which I think is very effective if you have a decent amount of one alternate coin, enough Bitcoin, and the want to buy other coins, but really importantly, knowing that when your altcoin has spectacular gains, you'll be using this to sell those gains and into other altcoins. And this will help you when the other altcoins have their big up and down moves, when, of course, to buy and sell such. Okay. So what we're going to do now is just go over a few different things that can help you in a spreadsheet for something like this. I'm going to put up a new one, but I'll go back to this and back and forth. So let's put a new spreadsheet up. So file, new spreadsheet. Don't know what the size will be. Oh, it's huge. Let me resize it. One thing to note for Satoshi price is if you take an actual number, like something's trading at, say, 2,511 Satoshi, if you take that number and then you divide it by 100 million, this is 1, 2 zeros, 3 more, and then 3 more. There is your Satoshi price. Now let's assume you have a base currency and it's trading at this price. Now if you wanted to get what the price is against your base currency, what you would do is take the alternate code and divide it by what your main code would be worth. And if this happened to be the 2, then the price is 0.0389. Okay, let's assume that you're putting in variables every time, and you just want to start off with the date. First of all, say it's the 5th day of March. What I like to do is just put in the number 305, and I'll equal that number and I'll add 1 to it. So the next day would be 306. I can copy and paste this all the way down, but there is no March 32. So I'll just manually type in 401 and the formula down below will work. And then obviously this ended on April 30th, but you'd have to do the same thing. I know this with other spreadsheets that you can automatically put in dates, but for me this works well enough. I'm using LibreOffice. Excel pretty much works within the exact same way. So let's just assume you're putting in numbers in here, 67, then 80, 52. If you always want to know what the last number you put in is at, here's the trick that I use. So what I will put in is, let's just use if equals if, and we'll put an if statement. If this number is greater than 0, then I want whatever that number happens to be. So I'll put a semicolon and then take that number. But if it's not greater than 0, then we'll say whatever the last number happened to be. And if I copy and paste this down like this, we can see that this is in at 52. So if the price changes to 44, it would change there. And this is effective within the previous spreadsheet because when I'm doing everything here and I want to know what the price is, I want to know what all of this data is. It relies on that formula. So within each one of these spreadsheets in here, this is what the cross price happens to be against Bitcoin for this particular code. So therefore, what it would be asking is if this column is greater than 0, then I want whatever data is available to me, or for there, of course. But if it's not, whatever the previous column happened to be, just give me that. And we can see in here, just looking at columns J on, that, well, this one here is a max one. But just numbers here like 17, 19, 23, 20, 19, and they stay there. Because it's asking that question every time. So within this is what the price is, and every single time it's going to allow me so that when I put in the daily data, I can then, it will automatically do that for me. Now within this section here, I have the formula like I showed on the outset, equals the number to my right divided by 100 million. This way, when I, on a daily basis, check the price, I just have to put the 4 numbers in and it's going to calculate everything for me that way. So it's pretty cool. Now for codes like, say, dash, you know, it's a lot of dash. I'm just going to find it easy to put 0.0 in whatever the number happens to be. To find out what the next day's value is, that's relatively easy, as that would be this day's number, subtract the previous day, divided by this number again. And then using that same thing I mentioned before, I'm going to say, is this number greater than 0? If it is, I'm going to want a new percentage move. If not, just keep on scrolling that number lower. And then 10 days or however many days you choose equals, say, this number, subtract, say, well, one of these numbers here, and then divide it by that again, and you'll get the percentage move. Now, as far as getting the highs and lows, this is a very easy situation. and that is you just get the maximum and minimum. So on here equals max over like however many days you want to use. And when you go through different types of tabs in this nature as well, let's assume you wanted to get this number here from us. So what I do is I have equals $UBIC P1000. And 1000 is just an even number, and it would take many days to get to that point. So therefore, I would equals on the computer, then I would click on the spreadsheet or the code that or the tab I want to go to, then I'd highlight where it is I'd want to go. So basically, when I get a new code that gets entered into the system, then I'm just going to push equals, go here. I'm looking for, in this case, the price is always on J, and then I'll just type in the number 1000 up top on here. As far as the extension formula, this is price action, subtract the 18 average that I'm using, a front weighted one, and I will explain how fun of a calculation that is on this spreadsheet. At least for me, I don't know an easier way of doing it, but it's the price action, subtract the 18 average divided by where the 18 average is again. And then this is just the maximum of this number, flipping negatives to a positive over the last 100 days. So how would you do something like that? How would you flip a negative number to a positive? Well, let's assume that you have, well, I'll show you how to do a random number first of all. Equals rand between, and I'm going to go between a negative 20 and 20. So the first number is the lowest one that you want to go betweening, and the second one being the highest. So we have 3. I'm going to copy and paste this a few times and then write a formula to make sure that the negative numbers get reversed. And even get a few more because I didn't get too many negatives. What was the sum of this? Negative 20 at the end will hurt it big, but 18 positives, nice. Positive 44. But anyway, equals if this number is greater than 0, then I'll keep that number. But if it's not, I'll go negative of that number, and that will change it. So now what we're going to have is this negative 4 will turn to positive 4. This negative 13 will turn to positive 13. And there we have it. Now I'm on Crypto Compare, and I want to get some data. I love data. And I did circuits of value, so let's get their data added towards such. There's the circuits of value information. I will click on Advanced Chart. And I get the 12-month time frame gives me the daily information. There we have it. So what I will do is I will click on this button and I will click on the XLSX. Don't need to save it, although I think it does anyway. But I'm just going to push the open button. That comes up. You can't, I can show it to you. What would I like to do with it? I'll push open. So now the spreadsheet will come up. It already has. There it is. So we have time and date, which has got just a bunch of number signs. But if you go like this, now we can see the date, which starts off at March the 6th. We have the close, the high, the low, and the open. as well as volume. If that information is important to you, which is not for me in this case, then include it. If intraday highs and lows are important. And if I could know what the Litecoin prices were during these key highs and lows, then maybe. Also, when you see these numbers like this is just code to go over the decimal. So I'm going to copy and paste the time and date and the closing price for what they have. I have a full year, so I'm going to copy this and then take this to my original spreadsheet. To make a new column, I'm just going to click down here and it comes up. Put the name Koval in. And I want this to be in chronological order, so that would be after cloak. Now, if I paste all the data in A1, that's not going to be correct. Because with the original code like dash, I downloaded my data originally on February the 19th comes up for 1 year worth. Where I was getting the data in here from March the 6th, I think, or 7th? March 6th. So what I'm doing on my spreadsheet, just for easy copy and pasting, is locating where March the 6th is. That is row 16. So what I need to do on row 16 is paste it. So all the prices and dates are included. So now when I look back, just back at this dash part in here, I have all my formulas ready to go. This here is equal. This is the price of this commodity. It is equal to this number divided by the Litecoin price of that row number. So equals B37 of this one divided by the LTC tab of B37. Now, as far as the front-weighted 18 average is concerned, there we can see a little bit there, equals the current cell multiply 18 plus the previous cell multiply 17 plus the previous cell before that multiply 16, so on and so on. That's what the weighting means, is that the front period, the current one, gets the value of how many periods you are running, 18 or 20 or however many, and each one that precedes that is one less. Then you would divide it by the sum of the numbers, which is the sum of 1 through 18, and that happens to be 171. So I would start this off in row 18, or if you're doing a 30 average, row 30, although the numbers get not so fun there. And you could just use a simple average too, and that's easy to put in, and they still work well enough too. But that is like equals average, and then just highlight the amount of rows that you want to get. So the next column in here is where I figured out the extension towards it. And this was the turning the negative into a positive if need be. So that's where I got some of the numbers. Now the numbers on the right hand side that will come up. Now I didn't highlight what each one of these means, but this in here is all those if statements. If this number, which is the price, is greater than 0, then I want that price. And then all of the data that I'm looking for, of course, is amongst these columns in here. But this way, if there's any indicators that you are seeking, Bollinger Bands, or there's like hundreds of them out there. If you know the mathematical formulas, or you can find them to how they are calculated, then you can be able to do them and have them incorporated for how you need be. So it works out that every day at 5 o'clock, I'll come in here. So tomorrow at 5-ish, maybe 6, 6:30, it doesn't really matter. There's no big whoop if it's not at the whatever time. I can even miss days. I'll talk about that as well. But I'll just type in what the price here is. All I have on Litecoin is this, is the price. So once that is done, I'll look at what the price of Blackcoin is. Put the numbers in here, I'm done. Then I'll go to Cloakcoin. I just insert this one in and I'll put the price in, and I'll do that with every single one of these. And then what's going to happen here is I'm going to put a new number here. All of these div-Os will not be div-Os because there'll be a number here. Of course, there'll be that Litecoin, and all of these calculations will recalculate. And in here, where it says if this number here is greater than 0, well, it will become true after such would be done. But what I also like about this too is, just like in school when you consistently wrote things down over and over and over, it just, like taking notes, that is, it makes it easier to understand the just what you, I mean, it's just better for you, I think. So for me, I'm always getting a good idea to what each one of these prices happens to be on a day-to-day basis, so that when I go from, it's just easier for me to understand where the markets have been a lot more clearly, because on a day-by-day basis, I'm going to insert each one of these codes in. It doesn't really take too long. And because for me, what I'll do is I'll just go to my Trading View website, and I have all the codes in here, so it doesn't take long. Oh, what's the price of Cloak? Well, it looks like 130 to me. And then just keep on doing it. Koval here at 114, which I still got to finish up on here, so I'll do that now. So let's write in Koval. And its price, well, it's under the column J for me. So there's the equals. Go to Koval here. And I'm just going to scroll down to, well, I got to copy and paste all this data in still. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take data from So I'm going to go into here, I'm going to take data from, doesn't really matter. I got more columns than I need, and I know I'm going to row 1,000. So I'm going to copy everything in here at D1, and then copy and paste it on Koval on that same area. And every single formula and calculation is now done to par. Now here we see div-O because it's got the March 6th date. I don't need that, not yet. So I have all the data already calculated. Its price. Going to go back in here, and I'm going to now go to the J column, which is right here. And then just type in 1,000. Now this thing is going to be many decimals, unfortunately. Just because it's a very, very cheap code. Now to get this so it looks green on positive and red on negative, pretty easy to do. This is, I'm just taking a look at this column that I have this in. This is at N, which makes this one O for me. So I'm going to go into Coval at column N. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to format these cells. So what I want is I want this in percentage. And 2 decimals, yep, that's about good. But this is the big one here, negative numbers red. Click on that. But then you also want to have the font to be in green, and I don't know if it's the same green as here. And then this way, if it is, it's the same green as this. So anyway, this way, if it's negative, it'll be red. If it's positive, whichever color default you have, it'll stick with. So that's why I do it in that form. I'm going to copy this over here. Now, why am I doing this? Because I want 4 decimals. And I know that these numbers are going to come into such. I see this is column P. I know this is column Q. And I have it set up this way so when I copy and paste one, I mean, I could, if I copy this for column, well, again, in this case, this one here would be column M, or M, and then this is column. Okay, it's P and Q, but the unfortunately, I have to make my font size on my computer 1 ditch smaller just to record. It's an annoying feature. So let's move on to go to column number P on Coval. And we'll put the number 1,000 in. And then do the same thing again for a copy and paste, because then it does column Q. So I have the high and I have the low. And just to keep the format in percentage, I'll just copy and paste this above. This is column L. This is column M within the spreadsheet. And there we have it. What I could do again to sort data, sort column A and ascending. And there's Coval in. On the third one, everything's in order, and I do know that give me a couple weeks and there's going to be at least twice as many codes on here, maybe even 3 times more. Now this I'm doing very manual on here, where every time whatever my last trade is, it'll be just written so for purposes of knowledge, because I'll know what I do next after what I did last. In here, the price of your altcoin is equal to that of, well, these two numbers divided by each other. So therefore, what I've done is how many of this divided by how much of that, which gives me the price. Because if I sell, say, 4 of these, which I did, then I'm going to get X amount of Bitcoin. That X amount of Bitcoin will buy me Y amount of Litecoin, and Y amount of Litecoin in this case was 0.31. So in a situation when the price goes lower, I'll put a date in, and then I'll look at it. Say this thing is down to, say, 34. So it's down a little more than 50%. Then I'd be looking at it, well, if I had 4 before, I know that the same amount of Litecoin would buy me like close to 9. So I'd probably buy about 6 or 7. And then however many Bitcoin it cost me to buy, I'm going to have to sell that amount in Litecoin, and then I'll see how that number comes in. I'm still going to have to put different formulas in for my first sale, but for now, that is how I have it placed. And I know a lot of this could be confusing, but this is a spreadsheet I really just can't be sending, even just a base model copy to start, because you're going to have to understand how it's written, and when you write it yourself, you'll understand it a lot more. And then again, the variables that you want to use. Maybe you don't want an 18 high or low, or you don't even want to see what the highest or lowest prices are. Maybe you want a 30-day high, or maybe you want a 10-day high and a 50-day high. That's always up to you. Again, whatever type of other indicators that you like, then you can place in there as well. But if, again, there's any coin that you are very, very aggressive with that's not Bitcoin, or even really Ethereum for that matter, because there's very good Ethereum-based markets out there, and you want to ensure that when your main code goes way up, that you profit take a little bit, this is one mechanism you could do, and thus buy these other coins that would essentially be losing value against that. And then when your coin that you're holding has a decent down move, that means all of these are going to go up, you'll sell them, and then you'll be gaining on your base coins that way. And of course, when they individually go up or down, and that means your base coin, in my case it's Litecoin, when it's not doing anything, and something like Voxels has a huge move, or Core, Cloak, all those coins have big moves, then I can take my profits from them, and they're easy to see as well. All right, thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.